Most pressing questions that we hear about in our public square, whether it's on social media or governmental debates or conversations in classrooms or at the workplace or whatever, are centered on sexuality, sexual desire. I'm not in love with my wife anymore. What should I do? I want to leave her. Sexual identity. I feel like I was born in the wrong body. I feel like I have the wrong body parts and I belong in another gender sexually. I just want to have fun. So is that such a bad thing for me to watch pornography or for me to hook up with my boyfriend or girlfriend or hook up with random people at the club? What am I supposed to do about this? And these aren't just big picture questions that society is asking. These are very relevant questions for you and me as individuals. We have to figure out, how are we supposed to understand ourselves sexually? How are we supposed to behave sexually? What are we supposed to do with sexual desire? What about sexual desire? Is it good? Is it bad? What does God have to say about it? You may not be a Christian at all. You may be someone who's very serious about God. I'll tell you, on both sides, you may be surprised when you really look at what the Bible has to say about sexuality. Really, from cover to cover, God has tons of things to say about sexuality. And there are a lot of prohibitions and warnings and cautions. There's lots of more positive teaching also. One text in particular that addresses sexuality is 1 Corinthians chapter 6. 1 Corinthians chapter 6. In the second half of this chapter, in verses 9 through 20, the Apostle Paul is addressing a lot of questions about sexuality. The Corinthian people were trying to follow Jesus, but they weren't doing a very good job. Unfortunately, a lot of people today, especially when it comes to sexuality, are the same way. We follow after the culture more than we follow after God. And in this text, Paul lays out a variety of principles that are really useful for us. And the first one that I think is so vital to understand is that sex is a good gift from God. Sex is a good gift from God. Now, to be fair, I don't think you're ever going to find a Bible verse in 1 Corinthians 6 that says that. Although you'll find many verses throughout the Bible that illustrate how this is a good thing for people to enjoy that God designed. Genesis chapter 2, God made sex. He made people male and female. He made them to be together even in the physical union of sexual intercourse. Sex is a good gift from God. And actually, even passages like 1 Corinthians 6, which you read it, you'll be like, wait, this is just a bunch of prohibitions and cautions and warnings and condemnations and all kinds of stuff. This doesn't say anything about how good sex is. Sure it does. With all those instructions, Paul never says, actually, you know what? Y'all shouldn't be having sex anyways. You shouldn't even think about being male or female because you're Christians. You should forget about all that stuff. Not once. He says a lot of other things, condemning certain activities, encouraging people to protect their sexuality, but he never condemns sex outright. As a matter of fact, if you keep reading into 1 Corinthians 7, you'll find a place where he says sex is a good thing. In marriage, it's actually a necessary part of the marital relationship. And husbands and wives shouldn't withhold sexual activity from each other because sex is a good gift that comes from God. And what that means is, number one, we shouldn't be afraid about talking about it. We shouldn't be afraid to talk in biblical and honorable and respectful ways, but to talk with joy about sex and the way God has designed us as male and female and what that means. But secondly, it means that we have to follow God's instructions for sexuality. You don't get to determine what this gift is or how you should utilize it. God has designed it. God created it. God gave it to you and to me. And so we need to use it according to His standards because good gifts come from God. Whenever we start messing with them, those good gifts can be twisted and destroyed. Remember that sex is a good gift from God and submit to His good will for your sex life.